Are you an apprentice or want to become an apprentice? There's a few things I've been noticing about some of the lineman apprentices we've been having on our crew, and here are a few things to consider if you're an apprentice in a skilled trade. Hi, my name's Austin. For some of you who don't know who I am or have never seen these videos on Blue Collar EDU, I'm a journeyman lineman, been a journeyman lineman for about 3.5 years, been in the lineman trade specifically since 2017. Before that, I did power line tree treatment clearance, and then before that, after graduating high school, I worked in the welding industry at a fab shop for approximately 6 months or so. So I have my whole adulthood experience so far in life from the age of realistically actually 16, because I started at a mechanic shop when I was in high school once I got my driver's license. From 16 to 27, so 11 years, have really only been in a skilled trade environment atmosphere. So that's all I know, and I'm just here trying to share a little bit of knowledge and experience I have with some of you who are getting in a skilled trade, some of you who want to get into an apprenticeship or want to pursue a career, whether that be a lineman or electrician or an iron worker. I want to kind of bridge that gap for some of you who don't know how to get started or where to get started, or tips and tricks or pieces of advice. They're going to help you, because this journey can be very competitive. It can be hard. There's a lot of uncovered ground, and there's a lot of mystery, especially if you don't have parents or any family members, or if you don't know anyone that works in the skilled trades. How are you supposed to really know? And that's what Blue Collar EDU is for, to expose, teach, educate you about blue collar career opportunities and things that'll help you getting started in a skilled trade. So here are 3 things to consider if you're an apprentice. Let's hop into the first thing. Here's the first thing that you really have to consider and think about if you're an apprentice right now or you're getting into an apprenticeship. Is it's up to you. What I mean by this is, I've been noticing in the lineman apprenticeship, I've been where I'm working right now for approximately 8 or 9 months. And in those 8 or 9 months, we've had 3 full-time apprentices on our crew. And between those 3 apprentices, groundmen, we've had a couple filter in and out, they come in for fill-in for a week or a few days or whatever. So, apprentices come and go, and that's part of the apprenticeship and what you could expect inside of a lineman apprenticeship especially. And the one thing that I've been noticing is, we'll get an apprentice, he'll come from a different crew, and apparently he just learned nothing on the other crew. And where I'm working right now, we're doing majority of underground work, so primary work, running underground cable to new housing developments or apartment complexes or businesses, things of that nature. And they come from a different crew, and that crew's also been doing the same type of work. But the thing is, they still don't know how to do parts of the work. And let me use this for an example. So one of the things we do pretty commonly is what we call terminate an elbow. Is you terminating underground primary wire. It's an elbow. It's a pretty simple termination. Well, it's simple for me because I probably have done 10,000 elbow terminations on primary wire. And so to me, it's simple, but we get an apprentice from a different crew who's been doing the same type of work. They've been terminating elbows and doing primary terminations. And so I kind of have the expectation that they know how to do it. And for some reason they don't. And now I'm wondering, well, are you just stupid? Are you just not learning it? Or are they not teaching it to you? And here's the thing, it's up to you. It's up to you to learn, to ask questions, to be willing to put in the work, do the homework, and learn these specific job tasks, like framing a transformer, for instance, and these points and orders of operations of getting a job done. And it's unfortunate that you're on a crew that the linemen, the journeymen on that crew didn't want to take the time to teach you, and then you get transferred to another crew doing the same type of work, and you still don't know how to do that kind of work that you just came from. And it's confusing to me. So I know it's not only on the apprentices, a lot of it's on the journeymen. However, it's up to you as an apprentice to want to learn. You have to get in there, get your hands dirty. The journeyman you work with, most likely are stubborn, are going to be stubborn. And because they probably want to just get the work done and then chill the rest of the day, they're going to get what they want to get done in the morning before it starts getting hot. And apprentices always take so much time, you know, and you have to watch them. And journeymen just get complacent and they get lazy and they're like, no, I'm just going to do it myself. And then that just leads to the apprentices running around like a headless chicken, just like cleaning up, you know, picking up trash and doing the little things that the journeymen don't want to do. And that causes a whole ripple effect. Now that apprentice isn't learning and he's going to a different crew doing the same type of work anyway, and he still doesn't know. So it's up to you as an apprentice to you have to want to get in there, get your hands dirty. I don't care how uncomfortable it might make you feel. You have to be straight up with the guys and make, listen, I need to learn how to do this type of work because I'm an apprentice. And it's realistically, it's your duty as a journeyman to teach you. And this is for the journeyman as well. I'm just going to throw this out there. 1 out of 4 journeymen are going to take the time to teach you. And as a journeyman, myself and other journeymen I've worked with, it's our duty and our responsibility to teach and educate the apprentices. That's the whole point of an apprenticeship, is to teach and educate an apprentice. Because that apprentice is supposed to learn, and hopefully they get done working with you, that they know how to do the job that they were on or just doing. And as an apprentice, it's your responsibility to learn and educate yourself on that task of work, to ask questions, to be like, hey, let me do this. Hey, let me get in there. Hey, can you teach me? I've never seen this before. Or, hey, I came from a different crew. We're doing this kind of work, but they wouldn't never let me do the kind of work, or they wouldn't teach me. And I'm going to take the time out of my day, as I should, to teach you. So it's up to you to make that a point in your day as an apprentice. Approach the journeyman, approach the lineman, and tell him, hey, I want to learn these things. And hopefully the journeyman is going to be like, okay, yeah, let me teach you. So it's up to you as an apprentice to really get in there. Sometimes it takes force, and I have seen that. I've worked with journeymen who are very stubborn, and they're just like, shoe fly, go clean the trucks. I'm just going to do this work myself. The second thing to consider as an apprentice is there are very high expectations. And what I mean by this, I'll use this as an example. Like I was saying earlier in the video, I've been at this job where I'm at for 8-9 months. And out of those 8 or 9 months, we've had 3, call them full-time apprentices, a groundman. The first guy was a groundman. The second guy was a 3rd, 4th step. And the apprentice we have now is a 4th step, which is a hot apprentice. The first groundman we had, I'm just using this as an example, he was a great groundman. He knew everything, every bolt, nut, everything that was on both the line truck and the bucket truck, the tools, where the material were at. He kept track of what material were in what bins. He kept everything in order. He made sure the bins, the material were stocked and cleaned and organized. And you could go up to him, and I'm just going to say his name, Carlos. And Carlos, if you're watching this video, hey, you're a great groundman, and you're going to be a great apprentice because now, you know, you're an apprentice lineman. And he was really good at his job. He knew his place. He asked questions if he needed to, but he rarely asked questions because he was a great groundman. You know, you didn't have to really tell him what to do because he already knew what to do. And we had high expectations. So once he got transferred to a different crew or different yard, and we're like, shoot, man, Carlos is going bye-bye. Man, I'm gonna have to miss Carlos because Carlos was such a good groundman. So then we get an apprentice to take his place, and we have such high expectations of like, man, hopefully this next apprentice we get is as good as our previous apprentice or previous groundman. If not as good, better. So there's high expectations for you as an apprentice when you come into a new yard working on a new crew. You don't know like a kind of apprentice or a groundman that you're replacing that was just working on that crew. Likely, I will say likely, that apprentice or groundman was pretty good, but maybe he wasn't. Either way, there's going to be high expectations for you as an apprentice to just know your duties and know your roles as an apprentice. For example, Carlos was very good, like I said, organizing and keeping the trucks clean. He'd clean out the cab of the trucks, make sure the trash was cleaned out. He'd clean windows, he'd clean mirrors. We'd show up every day. The truck, there'd be ice and water in the coolers. He would have the truck started. The inside of the cab was clean. All these little minute things like that you may not think about. He had those things in order. So once Carlos left and we got a new apprentice and he didn't do those things right off the bat, and we're like, what in the world? This apprentice sucks. And after a couple weeks, once he kind of got used to the crew and things of that nature, he got better. But regardless, there was high expectations for that apprentice. And then now that apprentice, he was with us for a few months and he got transferred to a different job, and we got another apprentice. So even still, there's high expectations for that next apprentice. So as an apprentice, there's always high expectations for you to know your job, know your duty, know your role, because the guy before you, if he was a good apprentice or groundman, there's going to be extremely high expectations for you as an apprentice or groundman. And it's also up to you, going back to the first thing, that maybe you need to approach the journeyman, the foreman, and kind of ask what those expectations are. And yes, the journeyman may be like, you don't know what your expectations are as an apprentice, man, you suck. Or they might take the time out, like normally I will take the time out of the day and be like, hey, this is what we expect of you to do. And then hopefully you take a mental note or a physical note of those things so you can be the best apprentice or groundman you can be for that crew, and then take those things on to the next crew when you get transferred. Here's the third thing you're gonna have to consider and know as an apprentice or groundman is the famous saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans. And if you've never heard that saying, normally it just means wherever you're at, whoever you're working with, whether that's a specific crew or a specific guy or a specific crew or a specific foreman, specific journeyman, when in Rome, when with those guys, with that crew, with that guy, do as he wants you to do things. And this is very common, and I'll use this as merely an example. Literally on Friday, whatever, that was a few days ago, I was teaching the apprentice how to do a termination on an elbow, a primary cable termination, and how I've always done it in my whole career. And everywhere you go, the specifications are going to be a little bit different. Your measurements for your stripping your semiconductor, your insulation, stripping, pressing your lug, and how things, the order of operations of how to do it. You could really break it down to like 6 or 7 steps if you want to. But those 6 or 7 steps, I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But the other journeyman on the crew might do my 3rd step as his 1st step, or my 4th step as his 2nd step. So his order of operations are a little bit different. So that now when you go work with that journeyman and you start doing an elbow, he's right there watching you, because apprentices are supposed to be under direct journeyman supervision all the time. And he's looking at you like, what in the world are you doing? And you're like, oh, I don't know. Well, this is how Austin taught me to do it. Or this is how I was taught to do on a different crew. And he's going to look at you stupid and be like, no, that's not how I do it. And then he's gonna be like, shoo, and then he's gonna show you how he does it. When you're going from crew to crew and guy to guy, there's like trying to figure out how to do the specific task, how that guy or that crew does it, is a very common thing. And now that's a lot to wrap your head around. When in Rome, do as the Romans. When you're working with Austin, or you're working with Johnny, or you're working with Miguel, but Miguel does it differently than Johnny, and Johnny does it differently than Austin. Now, typically the journeyman isn't going to be getting like mad at you for doing it, because you're probably still doing it right. You're just doing it different. And there's that famous saying, there's 1,000 ways or 10,000 ways or 1,000,000 ways, different ways to skin a cat. And that's the way it is in the trades. There's so many different ways you could do one task. Like terminating an elbow, a primary termination, is a great example. There's 30 different ways you can do it, but they all come up with the end result of doing the termination. When in Rome, do as the Romans. Try to just follow with, do as that crew does it or that guy does it. Those are 3 things to consider if you're an apprentice or you want to become an apprentice. Take them as you will. I will just say those are kind of 3 things I've thought about, and I was thinking, with the different apprentices we've had on our crew. Those are kind of three things that I was like, hey, listen, if you're an apprentice, it's up to you to want to learn, to work, to ask questions, to get in there, get your hands dirty. Kind of have to be forceful about those things. If you're an apprentice, there's going to be high expectations because the guy before you, maybe he was a great apprentice, he did a great job, and it's up to you to fulfill those expectations as an apprentice because you're supposed to be a good apprentice. Hopefully you want to be a good apprentice. And the third thing, when in Rome, do as the Romans. When on a crew, do as the crew wants to get things done. Do things how they want things done in certain procedures and operations. So hopefully you can learn from this video. With Blue Collar EDU, I'm here to expose, teach, educate you about blue collar career opportunities, things that'll help you get started in a skilled trade. And with that being said, I'll catch you on the next one.